Keeping your audience engaged is key to your success of your live video. And there are many great ways to do that, but one of those is to make sure that your video is very visually engaging. And on today's episode of Live and Local, we're going to talk about how you can actually use multiple cameras in order to create an engaging live stream video for your stream. Hello and welcome to Live and Local. My name is Nick Polkuski and I am your host for this show. And on today's episode, we're going to be diving in all about how you can use multiple cameras on your live stream in order to increase the engagement of your live video. Live and Local is a weekly show that we do here every single Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we've been off for a couple of weeks, so I'm excited to jump back into this weekly show and just deliver some great content in order to help you reach more people with your live video and really grow your business. And that's what we're all about, helping you as a local business grow your reach, grow your audience through live video. And a big way to do that is to make sure that you're actually getting engagement and you're getting people to stay and watch your live stream. That's going to be key when you're trying to really grow your audience. You need to keep people there, and we're going to be talking about a few different ways that you can actually go about and do that through adding in multiple cameras to your production. So we're going to kind of go beyond just kind of that basic selfie stream where you're just kind of holding the phone up and talking directly into the phone. We're going to kind of go a few steps beyond that. We will talk about some ways that those of you who only have that selfie stream, we're going to talk about some ways that you can actually still add some movement, add some elements into that live video. And so kind of kick things off, I want to cover why this actually matters. As we briefly mentioned, one of the key ways to really expand your audience is to make sure that people stay engaged and stay watching your live videos. And the only way to do that is to make sure they stay interested in it, and adding in some sort of visual element is going to be a really great thing, a really great way to help ensure that people stick around and watch your live video. Now, you can do this in multiple different ways, from graphics, from just the shots that you're framing, and from the movement you have in your cameras. But one really nice way to do this is through actually having multiple camera angles. And that's going to be kind of the key there. It's more about having those multiple camera angles than it is necessarily having multiple cameras. We'll talk through a few ways you can do that. But what these multiple cameras do is they allow you to keep the viewer's eye interested. It keeps them from kind of wandering off because they can see and sense those switches, sense that movement on screen. And they're going to focus in on wherever you're kind of directing their eye, even if that's going from, say, kind of a big wide shot to a very close punched-in shot. That can have a huge impact on making sure that people stay interested, people stay engaged. And it's really all of these little things that kind of add up to a really high-quality, very engaging live stream. So let's talk a little bit about some of the ways that you can actually go about and create and really talk through what is possible with your live video, and how you can actually use multiple camera angles to keep this engaging. And there's some very simple ways. It could be setting up multiple actual physical cameras. I can show you the camera we have here. So one of the things is, you probably already noticed, you might be starting to get a little bit bored of just seeing this same kind of visual shot. That's where you might want to add in graphics, but we're not going to talk about that too much today. We're going to stick focused on the multiple camera angles. And today you're getting a kind of a single camera, which is kind of ironic because I have everything kind of set off the side to really show you a few different pieces of equipment that I think you might be interested in, learning more about and how you can actually use this. It can start out very simple, from having just two simple cameras hooked up into your streaming system. And you can do this from just a basic desktop. So you can do it from like a MacBook Pro. You'll need a few pieces of gear, and this is not necessarily to talk a lot about the gear, but it could be having to really basic cameras hooked up to webcams. Even you could hook in USB webcams and just having multiple webcams in order to get a couple different angles and really switch back and forth between those different angles in order to create that engagement. But then you could also go up other levels, and when you have especially a dedicated streaming machine, you're going to be able to add in multiple cameras. There are PCs out there that you can easily add in 8 cameras, and then if they're PTZ cameras, that gives you infinite amount of different angles and different possibilities that you can do with that number of cameras. But it really allows you, when thought through correctly, it allows you to kind of tell a story. When somebody's making a very dramatic point, you can zoom in and really catch that glint in their eyes. Or when they're talking about big, expansive topics, or say they're giving more of a speech, they could be waving their hands out and talking to the crowd. Well, you could pull back and you could get a wide shot where you actually see the entire crowd. And it's all about thinking, how can I visually aid this story that we're trying to tell through that live stream? And that's the best use of having multiple cameras and having multiple different angles, is when you can really think through and maybe even storyboard what this could look like, and how can I best tell this story by creating engaging images and creating an engaging a scene with the use of multiple cameras. Now, that's kind of giving you the high bar of what you want to try and create, what you want things to look like. But how do you actually put that into practice? Again, it could be it could be 2 webcams. The Logitech HD webcam, that's the one I did not grab. I'm going to grab it right now. I'm also curious to know what you think about this kind of new setup. We won't always be streaming from this setup, but when I want to do some just showcase some things, or I just want to, it's just me talking to you, I might be here using this setup. So let me know what you think about this setup in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But let's jump in and check out what this is. The Logitech, I forget, this is the C90. I forget which model this is. It's the Logitech C something webcam. There's several out there. I don't remember specifically what this model is, but it's a really high quality webcam. It's a great kind of starter camera. If you're just getting into live streaming, just starting to use switching software, highly recommend checking it out. It's not going to be super expensive. I'll be sure to put a link in the description here after the fact. But yeah, go check it out. This is a great one. It's going to get you started, and you can get multiple ones and actually they just connect through USB. So if you have 2 USB ports in your computer and your computer's strong enough, you should be able to run, say, Ecamm on your MacBook, or even Wirecast, or I would ideally go with vMix. If you're on a PC that can handle it, definitely go that route. That's what we're using now, even though we're just a single camera, and vMix allows me to do graphics and all that fun stuff. But I definitely recommend vMix if you're on a PC, and I definitely recommend you kind of start to work towards that level. We'll talk a little bit more about stair-stepping things up here in just a bit. But what I want to encourage, so that is the Logitech. That's a great spot to start out if you just have that single desktop and want to get going with using multiple cameras. But what if you just have your phone? We're going to talk about a couple different things, but one option is, say you have your phone plus maybe a backup phone, or you can borrow somebody's phone, or you have an iPad, something like that. What you're going to be able to do is you can use a software called Switcher Studio. I used to use this way back in the day. By way back in the day, I mean about a year and a half ago. But I used to use their software. It worked really well. What it allows you to do is to actually switch from multiple different iOS devices. I think they've started adding in Android, but don't quote me on that. It has been a while since I've used that platform, but it's going to allow you to really switch from different devices, which is really awesome. It's a great way to add in that element, especially a lot of times people will have multiple iOS devices lying around, or they might be able to get one from a friend that they could use for their stream. And this is a great way to really get started with some higher quality production while still only having, say, your cell phone or another spare cell phone or something like that. It works really well. Kind of that next option is to go to a little camera, something like the Mevo. So this is the Mevo. This is actually the Mevo and the base. Here, I'm going to take off the base, and this is just the little top. This is the Mevo. It's a really nice little device here. I used this for a long time. When I first was starting out the Downtown Madison Life Show, that was the main camera. I would take it out with me, travel around. I got started seriously live streaming with this little device. And it's really neat. It's a great way to add that extra dimension to your streams, because what happens is you have this camera, and so this is the Mevo. I showed you what it looks like just singly, but this is the Mevo with the boost, which is basically extra battery, and it allows you to plug in USB audio and an Ethernet cable to get higher quality internet. But what happens then is you just go and connect that with an app for your iPad or iPhone, and then from there, so this is the app. Let's see. Let's try and get something. You're going to see a little bit of the behind the scenes. So this is the Mevo camera. So you can see I'm kind of looking here. There I am. You can see a little bit of the behind the scenes right there on the app. But if you look, set it down right here. It's a slightly dated. Okay. So if you look really closely up in this corner, you can see there's a little screen there, and you see the big screen. So the big screen here is the full sensor. Now, if I tap right here, you can see the little blue outline. Well, if you notice really closely up here in the little other side, this little box, it just cut into that, what is in that blue square. So if I tap over here, it'll switch there. If I tap over here, it'll switch to that angle. And what that allows you to do is to kind of create multiple camera angles. You get multiple different shots and multiple different cuts. And so you have your wide angle, which is really a 4K sensor, but then when you click, it cuts that down to kind of, I believe it's 1080, maybe it's 720, I forget exactly. I think you can actually set that up on what kind of that camera, what those dimensions are, but essentially you're kind of zooming in, if you will, to that little part of the screen and that little part of the camera, which creates an amazing effect. And I really love the way that works. So this is a really nice camera option. I sometimes hesitate to recommend it to people because it's hard to go to upgrade in that system. If you want to upgrade to adding, say, another Mevo and multiple camera angles and bringing in graphics and things like that, then you're kind of limited, or you're not limited, but you're locked in to the live stream platform, which live stream is a great platform. I personally prefer vMix. That's what we're using right now. And I just didn't want to be locked into that live stream platform. So I actually kind of broke out of that and started going with vMix and adding other cameras other ways. But honestly, if you know you're going to be just kind of at this level for a while, where all you want is to be able to create different little images, kind of zoom in and create a little bit more dynamic, but don't necessarily need multiple cameras and don't necessarily need to add graphics, things like that, the Mevo might be a great option for you. I know they have new plans that they've been introducing since I've been using them. So you might want to go check that out. It really is a great camera, and it's super portable. Like I said, I used it for a long time on the Downtown Madison Life show. It's where most of the first, honestly, that's where most of the episodes were shot through. We're just now, as we're kind of diving into season 2 with that show, we're just now starting to bring in some of the other production elements. So yeah, I highly recommend that if you're looking to add a little bit more of a dynamic feel. Now, let's talk more about kind of that dedicated production system. So for my system right now, what we have is we have the Alienware PC. We have the one camera that's a Canon XA or AX. I always forget, XA or AX10. XA10 or AX10. I always forget which is which. One's Canon, one's Sony, or one's Canon, one's Sony. This is the Canon. So we have that plugged in. Now that's it's kind of a static camera. What I can do is I could zoom in and zoom out. The only problem with that is, other than the fact that sometimes it doesn't work. There, oh, maybe, no. other than the fact that sometimes it doesn't work, is that people would actually see that you are zooming in and zooming out. And ideally, you like to kind of cut, so you like to kind of hide some of those transitions. So once you have, say, your stationary camera, so it could be something like the Canon, it could be something like a PTZ Optics Z Cam, that's also a really great one. Once you have that kind of basic camera, I would either have that as your wide angle, and the reason I wanted that was I wanted to be able to plug in audio and a few other things. I needed it for multiple reasons, but either your first or second camera, I would recommend going with something like a PTZ Optics camera, especially if you're going to be in studio. This is great, or even honestly, we use this at events. So if we're like this morning, I was live streaming social media breakfast. This thing provided most of the shots for that show. I also had the Canon kind of stationed as a wide angle shot or a wider angle shot to kind of give me the whole stage. So I'd switch back and forth, because what the PTZ Optics allows you to do, PTZ stands for pan, tilt, and zoom. So it's going to allow you to create multiple different angles, multiple different presets. So I can have, say, preset 1, and I click it, the camera moves to there. If I click preset 2, the camera moves there. 3, there. 5, it's zoomed out, you can't really see that. 0, so you can kind of see this camera has infinite amount of options. You can set lots of different presets. On just this remote, you can set 10 presets, which is going to allow you to create multiple different shots. It allows you to seem like you have way more cameras than you actually do, because you can create all of that dynamic content on your stream. It's a little more expensive camera, and so I would make sure it fits within your budget generally and within your kind of overall system. And we can dive more into creating an actual at-home studio or creating your live streaming gear on a future episode. Really today, I just wanted to kind of run through how to go about creating multiple camera angles and things like that. Now, those are a little bit of the cameras, a little bit of the gear. I talked to you a little bit of why you would want to do that. The next thing I want to talk to you about is, what if you are just stuck with your phone? How can you create kind of engaging shots when all you have is your phone? You can't even borrow a friend. You just have your one iOS device or whatever that you're going to be live streaming from. How can you keep it engaging, keep people interested? Really, with that, what you want to think about, one is framing of your shot. That's always going to be big. Don't have any of those up the nose shots, those kind of angles, or the way far out where people are just like looking down at you really weird, or like you're really tiny, like you're sitting way back in the frame. I'm running the lights, sitting way back in the frame where you're just kind of a tiny, small little piece in that frame. You want to make sure you have things framed up well. And you can do that with your iOS device, your phone, no problem. But you just need to think about some of those things. The next thing to think about is, how can you add in aesthetically pleasing, engaging movement to your video. So maybe it's just flipping that screen from facing you to the rear facing screen and showing something off over there. Maybe you want to add in some movement by actually moving. So then I would recommend looking into something like a gimbal. So this is a gimbal. Your phone just kind of sits right inside this little piece, and it balances it so you have nice, smooth, clean motions. This is the DJI gimbal. I forget exact. Osmo Mobile is what it is, the name of it. And it works really well. And it just kind of smooths out your shot, so you can be walking and you can still keep that nice smooth shot while the background behind you is still changing. You can even use it to kind of pan, tilt, and zoom, not zoom, but you can use it to kind of pan and tilt, which can create some great movement. So if you're showcasing some sort of landscape, perhaps, you can kind of pan across the landscape in a nice, slow, controlled, easy movement, really showcasing that, adding in that extra element, adding in that extra piece of visuals. But again, even if you don't have that, you can do that with your own, just try to be super steady, try to hold that steady moment. You want to have as little bounciness and movement as possible, but even just really thinking about and having slow movements, kind of showcasing things, or even as you're kind of talking, maybe you're sitting down, maybe you're sitting in your office chair and you're just kind of slowly moving. You're adding a little bit of engagement. Again, you want to keep this very controlled, very seamless, very aesthetically pleasing, and really thinking about what your framing looks like and the type of movement that you want to add to your stream. Well, that is it. That's all I have for you today on this episode. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of an idea of what you can actually do in adding movement to your live video. I want to encourage you to head on and actually type checklist in the comments. And what you're going to get by doing that is you're actually going to get our event checklist, our live event checklist. Just simply type that in the comments and you'll get that. Or if you want, you can head on over to liveactionproduction.com and sign up for our email list there. I want to encourage you to do that because very soon we are going to be announcing a little bit more training along the lines of how to actually create a solid studio or a live stream or a live streaming kit on a budget. We'll give you the different levels, kind of like I did here really quickly, but a more complete package. We have a training that I'm really excited, can't quite announce for you yet, but I'm excited about it, and we're going to be announcing that soon. And the way to find out about it first is to actually be on the email list. So I want to encourage you to go head over to liveactionproduction.com and sign up for the email list. Again, my name is Nick Polkuski, and we are live for Live and Local every single week on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So until next week, it's time for you to go out there and start live streaming.